It's about to get live. We keep it pretty level, no surprise. Come and listen to the topics busted. Yeah, check out our discussion. Keith Norris and D2K. K-Bump 20 on the MIC. Check our night all the way in Germany. Leveled head, you know who that boy is. But it say live and level, live and level. We on the MIC. Live and level, live and level. We just talking them games. Live and level, live and level. Take a seat and listen up, man. Live and level, live and level.
It's called congratulations. You play. It's called congratulations.
What's up? What's up? What's up? This thing don't want to act right, but forget it. What it do, people? I'm trying to get it right. What's up, folks? This is the Live and Level Gamers podcast. And we are in here. Yes, it's been a minute. I got an explanation. But if you here, go ahead and sign off in the live chat. I see first name basis is already here. Oh, yeah, live and level, live and level. Yeah, we in here, bro. Welcome to the show. But let me introduce these cats. We got K-Bump 20 in the live chat and live on air. We have D2K in the building as well. And this is the Live and Level Gamers podcast. What's up, fellas?
Yo, what it do?
What's up? What's up, man? It's been a minute, bro. Been through a storm, bro. This week.
Right.
But let me explain. So before we get into it, I had a little emergency in my family with one of my twin daughters. We had to rush her to the hospital due to breathing issues, and that started Wednesday night, and we was in the hospital from Wednesday till Saturday, taking care of her and getting her under in better condition. She's doing really good. Actually, she's back to herself. She's doing great. But due to her situation, we had to rush her from our hospital locally to St. Louis Hospital, to where they had a center up there that could deal with children her age. Since she was 3 years old, they needed to take her up there. And it kind of freaked me out a little bit, but with the prayers of the saints and those who jumped on and interceded for us, and you know, D2K and K-Bum and Keith all was praying for me, and they knew what was going on. But that's why we wasn't here this past Thursday. And my baby boo is doing good. I'm happy to let y'all know she up and running. Tried to come down here just a second ago. I had to put the stiff arm to her to go back upstairs. But yeah, man, so my voice is a little gone because I've been basically sleeping on the couch at the hospital for the last 3-4 days. You know, of course, this is my baby, so I shared a few tears. So, and then I had to go to church this morning and testify, and I did that thoroughly, and I didn't hold back nothing, and my voice gone. But that's what it do when the Lord takes care of you and see you through situations, man. So, yep. But yeah, that's what happened, man. They thought it might have been an asthmatic type of attack. They're not saying she has asthma, but they're saying that they want to check and make sure. But because of her age, her bronchial tubes ain't fully as big as ours. So like a common cold is more stressful on their age than it is us. So it's a little bit more serious. Just for them to even get a cold, it's difficult for them to cough up the mucus and stuff. You hear it right there talking. You can hear it right there. Anyway, shut the door, Nyla. Yeah, she shut it. So all that being said, man, I appreciate y'all prayers and holding your boy up, man. Y'all encouragement was well needed. Y'all was keeping the boy going. Keith said I just attacked the hangout with all video dude. That's all I had. But then I took my Switch up, and we're gonna deal with that. One of the topics, like the ingenious of the Switch, yet my frustration with Nintendo and the Switch. We're gonna get into that later. But with that being said, man, I gave you kind of the spill of what took place in my life the last few days. So I haven't been. Well, I actually did game a lot while we sat there and and nursed her back to health. I got a little gaming in, but anyway, we'll talk about that later. But anything unique happened in y'all world starting with D2K?
Nothing worth mentioning.
Oh, okay. All right. What about you, K-Bomb?
No, just celebrated my wife's birthday this past week, so that was a bit of fun, man. We enjoyed ourselves. She got a chance to hang out with some friends and do a little something. So that was a big moment for her to celebrate another year. I mean, thankful for that. So that's pretty much how our week went.
Okay, yeah, that's what's up. Thanks, first name basis. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, that was a doozy, man. I went through. So I appreciate you sending out your happiness for me, man. I appreciate that. But so your wife's celebrating her birthday, huh?
Yeah, I ain't gonna say the age because I ain't trying to get whooped, but
she 15, man. You know that 15.
21.
No,
21 again. Don't say 15. I'm going to jail.
Look at he made street corrected that.
Don't get me up in jail.
Like, don't get me in trouble.
Investigating me.
It's called congratulations. You played yourself.
He wouldn't let me get off. He wouldn't let me get off of that. Yeah, you can't joke about that. He wouldn't let me go with that at all. D2.
Bro.
Hopefully Keith will be able to jump in. He's taking care of his little ones. So, but yeah. So she celebrated. So you didn't go out with her? With her?
Oh no, we had it at the crib. She had friends to come by and we celebrated at the crib.
Okay. I heard you say friends, so I figured I ain't here home. Though.
Yeah, so we got the spot now, so we got more space, and so we can do more stuff at the crib. So
okay, that's what's up, man. I would have came through, dude. The day we got out, but I was so tired. I went to my wife's.
There's a lot going on. I wasn't even tripping.
Yeah, I went to my wife's my in-laws. And slept on the couch. My my sister-in-law got a bed, man, like a $15,000 bed or something like that. It's an expensive bed. And they wanted me to test it out. And I was like, nah, I'm good. They're like, nah, going up there and test it. I was like, nah, man, I'm gonna sleep on this couch. So they convinced me to go up there, dude. I didn't even know I fell asleep. I woke up. I got up there about 1, and I was planning on leaving by like 4. Hitting on the road, bro. I woke up. It was 3:45, man. I slept from 1 to 3:45. I didn't even realize I wouldn't have had no intention on going to sleep. So, but yeah, man. So, but I would have swung by K-Bum had I wasn't that far from you actually. So, the distance to my in-laws' house
to your house. You ain't been to the new crib though.
Yeah, but when you told me how far you was, it's the same distance, about 21, 22 minutes. So, okay. We could have got over there, but next time we get up there, probably Christmas season, we swing through.
All right.
Okay. Anyway, let's get into this, man. Enough of us talking about me and my situation. What you been gaming on, K-Bum 20?
What I've been gaming on, again, good to have everyone today. Happy to be here. But what I've been gaming on, so I got some usual candidates here. Been playing just a tad bit of Madden, not anything co-op, just something to pass the time. Then picked up and played 2K a little bit more. So it's funny how these games change through patches. Because when the first 2K first came out, I thought it was trash. I thought it was garbage. It was not simulation basketball. It was something totally different. But through a couple of patches, about three patches, and the game is actually playable. It's actually a pretty good game now, man. So pretty excited about that. I've been playing that with my brother and some boys, picking up some new friends playing that. I've also started playing FIFA a little bit more. Okay. To me, FIFA is more fun than playing 2K and Madden. But playing 2K FIFA in a very similar way, where we all have our own player and we just play with that one person. And so me and my brother and another partner have been playing that. So pretty much all the games I play is multiplayer. I don't really play too many solo games, but that may change. So, and then I played a tad bit, just a little bit of Overwatch. Played a little bit of that this past week. And I got another game that I played. I wish the truth was here. My man would keep making fun of me about not finishing my games, but I actually finished a game. that I ain't played in a while. I just finished The Last of Us.
Oh, okay. Finally, hold up.
It's called congratulations. You played yourself.
Dude, that's been a while, bro.
No, I hadn't picked it up, man, because I was on a spot that I just couldn't figure it out. You know, you get to a spot, you can't figure it out. You keep dying. You're like, man, I'm done. I'm tired. I just keep dying.
What spot was it?
Surprisingly, it was very close to the end. And it was a spot where you're in that tunnel going to the hospital close at about the end. I don't know if you beat it yet.
Yeah, I beat it. I'm
trying
to
the hospital. Not in the hospital. It's on the underground level before you get to the hospital where the fireflies are. And so, and there's like three big seed throwing dudes. Really, the toughest zombies. Well, not zombies. I don't know what they call them. Infected.
I think Keith said what they were the last time we was on here.
They call it infected. That's what we call
them.
Oh, okay. They had three of the biggest infected in the game just sitting at the end, and I just got tired of I didn't do it right, and I finally realized what I was doing wrong, and I played it again the other day, and I played it all the way to the end, and finally beat it. So yeah, I feel excited about that because I'm getting ready for the Last of Us 2 to come out now. So it didn't end how I expected it to end. So that was
it didn't.
I was sitting there like, whoa, wait, we done?
Yeah,
I was not expecting. I thought something else was going to happen. Like, but if I thought the game was going to end about 3 hours before it did.
It was yeah. Like it could have. It would have made sense had it ended where you thought it was going to end. But that whole last scene running through that hospital and that to me, that was just kind of like a blur. It really didn't stand out to me. It's just a lot of shooting and it went from a stealth game to just an action game, and you just running. I can't remember all of them because it's been a while since I beat it, but I just remember I didn't care about what I was doing, but I did it.
Like actually, like I didn't want to do what the game was making me do. I felt that because I felt like, you know, maybe we should. I don't want to spoil it because I mean people probably should play it already. It's been out for years, but you know, I wanted them to try to create a cure. I didn't want to do what I mean. That's a selfish motive to go do what he was going to do. I'm like, if we can find a cure and she can help, then let's do it. And so that's why I actually didn't want to do what I was doing. And so there's some disconnect there.
The cure, forget if they a spoiler alert. Now what? Because if you ain't played The Last of Us by now, that's your fault.
That's your fault.
Now the cure was she would have to die, right?
They would have to because the fungus infects the brain.
Yeah,
and so they couldn't get in there to extract what she had to keep the gift, to keep it from infecting her unless they went into the brain.
Right, I couldn't remember. It was something I couldn't remember.
Yeah, and it most likely was going to kill her.
Right. Okay. I couldn't do. Well, DTK, did you spoil something for you?
He don't care about that stuff. We already talked about this. DTK didn't care about spoilers.
Oh, okay. So anyway, that end part was kind of dumb. That's my mom if y'all hear. Like the whole family over here after that session.
I understand.
So you hear her yelling, that's you hear, Mom, hold up. Mother. Ain't that sad? I'm gonna let y'all talk. Let me get this up.
Oh man! If only we had a visual for this. This is hilarious.
This is
grown man talking about mama. I mean, I do it too. I just don't do it on the podcast.
Man, you know, in the black home, it's still mama.
Hey, I do it too.
Years old.
I just don't do it on the podcast. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, it was in the moment, man. It was in the moment. It's mother. I be professional when we out, mother. It was mama.
Nah, it's mama. You right.
Yeah. But anyway, so what's up, Dark Sun Rider? Welcome to the show. Hey, okay, so, but yeah, man, that end part was kind of filler. That's what I took it as.
It didn't flow, man.
It did not.
And even the end, once it ended and she asked him to say what he said, I'm like, okay. Like I don't know. I I didn't like the ending. I thought the story was amazing to me, and the how realistic the story felt. But it was just I didn't to me. Let me say this. So I thought Batman, The Dark Knight, was too long. I thought even that movie was one of my favorites, which is top three or top five, depending on how many Marvel movies keep kicking it down. I thought it was like one of the best movies, but I didn't like its ending because I thought it was too long. I
Yeah, the
thought,
movie was. Yeah, I agree
I
with that.
thought it the extra scene with the boat thing wasn't necessary. I
It
didn't see
was
the point
two
of
movies put into one. You could have made a separate Two-Face movie,
it. Yeah,
standalone movie based off of just him, instead of
yeah.
putting him and Joker in there. But
Yeah, I didn't. So when I say that, I'm not downgrading them. I still think the Dark Knight was one of the greatest movies ever made. And so I think this game. I don't think this game is one of the greatest games ever made, but I think it's a really good game. But I still have issues with it, which is the ending. I think it was too long, and I think Level was agreeing with me on that note too.
Yeah, I was going to go back to what you talking about. The Batman. I think that last scene when they capture him and he got all the hostages up there, and he go down and he make old dude do what he did that he didn't want to do. I think with how they found them, basically. I think that whole scene could have been cut. They should have ended where he wasn't able to save. I can't think of old girl's name, but where he couldn't save. They had to go save the dude that eventually becomes Two-Face. What's his name?
Harvey.
Harvey. They should have ended on that scene where
Rachel, that's her name.
Rachel.
Yeah, Rachel and Harvey. Rachel dies and Harvey is saved. They should have ended there and let it be. But that last scene with the prisoners on the boat and all that's kind of whack.
That was redundant. Like you've already
Yeah.
proved your point.
Yeah, so I agree. And with The Last of Us, I think they should have ended with the revelation of the Fireflies leader.
Yeah.
And that whole thing coming out, they should have ended there. But to not prolong this part, yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly, K-Bun. You right
cool.
on the money. D2K, what you been gaming on, bro?
Not a whole lot. Recently I was messing around with Killing Floor 2. I usually play that when I go over to my friend's house, and we were playing some of that and played a little bit of Overwatch. There's a new character on Overwatch that was just released. I forget her name. What's her name? You would know. You know about the new character, don't you?
Yeah. The Wild Wild West chick.
Yeah, she's had some kind of relationship with Ash. Yeah, she has some relationship with McCree. You know, I watched the whole cutscene that was basically explained her entrance into the game and everything. It was really interesting. She's a cool looking character. I like her design.
I really like her design. I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, I also like the fact that she has like this robot that's with her. That's her actual ultimate attack, and he can actually become a character that has his own power meter, and he can last a while even after. Because normally when you do your special move, you have a determined amount of time, and then you go back to normal. But this guy, he actually gets his own power meter, and he can keep going.
Yeah, he's a natural character that can be healed and everything.
Yeah. So I think that was kind of cool. You know, it's would be interested to see how many people complain about that and they nerf him or nerf her, I should say. But we'll see.
I thought the story behind it was really cool. That that's her butler or whatever when she was, saying when she's with her family. That was actually her butler, and that turned out to be that, and that's why he still protect her. So I think that's kind of dope.
Right.
Okay.
But other than that, no, not much.
Okay. Well, for me, like I said, with my situation, I did take my Switch with me, packed it away when I headed up north, and when I got there, I took Splatoon 2, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and NBA 2K18 because I don't have 19 yet. And what was the other game I took? I took 4 games. I can't think of it. I can't think of that 4th game I took. It'll come to me. Mario plus Rabbids. Now you notice in there, I 2 of the games got Mario in it. But anyway, I played all those games and a few of the games I have downloaded on my Switch. And it really was interesting how when I said I hit y'all up, I said the Switch is a very ingenious piece of hardware device. I was sitting in the room and I had it set up with my game, my Pro controller, and I was sitting there and I was playing Mario Kart. And one of the nurses came in and was like, "What is that?" I was like, "It's a Nintendo Switch." And she was like, "That is, you were playing that right there. You playing?" So I turned around. She couldn't believe the level of the graphics on the system. She's like, "I got a nephew. I mean, my daughter's husband is, or future husband. They engage. Fiance is a heavy gamer, and he has all the systems, but I don't think he has that." And she's like, "That is amazing. Like, that is really nice. How much did that cost? About $1,000?" I was like, "No, $299." She said $299, and she was just kind of just going off and how he plays games all the time. All he do is work and play games. And his daughter said that once they get married, that's gonna change. He ain't gonna be playing games. Like, nah, that ain't gonna change. He be playing games now. He gonna be playing games.
Boy,
then.
why people always trying to change people? Boy, I better calm down with that.
You know they think they can change you from man. Stop.
Lord.
But anyway, so when I was sitting there, and I ain't gonna go into, well, we could go into this now and get this on out. So as I was sitting there, I text y'all. I said what I said in a Google Hangout. I said the Switch is a very ingenious console device, but Nintendo gets on my ever-loving nerves because, and so let me go into this. As I was sitting there and I was thinking about how impressive it is when you see it. If you have never seen it in action, it's a very impressive piece of technology. When you look at it, it's like, wow, that is it looks like something that costs a good penny. But then you think about all the limitations, that unnecessary limitations, like online services and all the stuff that Nintendo isn't doing right. It was like, this system could be even bigger of a smash if, no puns intended with Smash Bros., if Nintendo get their proverbial heads out the ground. Like, the online server is trash, voice chat is trash, the phone app service is trash, but you got this ingenious piece of hardware here, but you're doing trashy things with something that's really visually impressive, visually eye-catching, appealing to even those who don't play games. As she was watching me play, she got all off my daughter and just all into what I was doing, like, because my daughter was doing real good at that time. And it's like, man, what is it with Nintendo that they have a winning situation here with the Switch, yet this whole year, and Keith kind of hit onto it, this whole year most of their announcements been very underwhelming. The NES, the games that they uploaded for the NES, and the $20 for the online service, and the lack of native voice chat. Like, what in the heck is Nintendo missing with what seems to be a very ingenious, eye-catching, appealing device? I don't get it. I don't get how both situations are happening simultaneously. If this was a Wii U, I would get Nintendo making these fumbles and stumbles. But the fact that they had such a great year the first year of its release, these stumbles in the second year don't make sense to me. And that's what I meant when I said the Switch is an ingenious device, but Nintendo is really getting on my nerves with how they're handling it, especially this year. And I'll let whoever want to come in. I'll let you come in first, D2K.
Well,
I told y'all that wasn't. Go ahead, man.
I'm just gonna say something. I'm just gonna come around and say it because there's no way to say this without it being controversial to what you just said. The Switch is not an ingenious device. And I think the root of why you can't understand why the Switch isn't doing better than it is and why Nintendo keeps making these silly mistakes, unnecessary mistakes, is because you want to view it as an ingenious device, but in your heart of hearts, you know that it's not.
I can't agree with that, but I'm listening.
The Switch is not a new concept at all. The idea of a hybrid console is at least 20 years old. There are several devices on the market that do what the Switch does that have been there for at least 2 to 3 years before the Switch, the final design was even revealed to be the Switch. The only thing that's really ingenious is Nintendo's marketing strategy of the Nintendo Switch, because they're basically told you that being able to play games on the go started in 2017 of March. And that strategy has worked. It doesn't matter that that's false. What matters is that as a marketing agency, it's your job to convince the consumers that what we want you to believe is the truth. And that's one thing that Nintendo has mastered from day one, going all the way back to before I was even born when they released the color TV game. Nintendo has mastered the strategy of being able to show or tell the consumers that this, what we're giving you, is the best, whatever it is that's out there. Sometimes it actually was. Sometimes it's not. But they never put a product out there and basically said this is inferior to something else, or yeah, this is okay, but you should probably focus on something else. Whenever Nintendo puts a product out there, they make you believe that this is the best thing to have, regardless of whatever it is. And with Nintendo Switch, everything about it is stuff that's been done before. But when you talk to Nintendo fans who have a Switch, in their minds, it seems like there's something that they just started being able to do in 2017. The only brand new thing about it is really the HD Rumble, because as far as I know, there's no HD Rumble in any video game console or anything like that, throughout history. I mean, I didn't even hear about that type of technology until they started talking about it for the Switch. So that's the only new thing about it. Maybe you could throw Labo in there in terms of, how the scanning of the cardboard and I don't know how they actually do it, but how I don't even know how to put it, but how it works together with the console to where you build something and then you can play it on the screen, all that type of stuff. But, as far as the console itself, it's not ingenious. It's just ingenious marketing.
Okay, I'm gonna come back on that, but I want to get K-Bum first.
All right. So I had a different answer until D2K talked. I kind of want to address a little bit what D2K said first before I kind of give my answer. I would disagree with D2K on this. So I would agree. First, I would agree with D2K about what kind of makes this unique is the controller, the Switch. One thing that tablets or the mobile type gaming has always had an issue with is input devices. That has always restrict mobile devices from me even wanting to play mobile devices is their input devices, the way you input feedback into the game. And so the joysticks is probably one of the best whatever they call it, Joy-Cons are probably one of the best input devices for a mobile device. I'll go on record to say that. And another thing to me that allows Nintendo to stick out above the rest. We just saw a conference with Apple, and they showcased their new iPad. They showcased the new iPad, and they were talking about, look at the console level graphics that you can get out of this iPad, which is great, but it costs $1,000. So yeah, that's great and all, but it's $1,000. With this device, you're getting it at a $299 price point. But to me, that kind of I'm not going full board and say it's ingenious, but I am going to say it is a very unique device for what it's doing. The fact that it does deliver on this console level game, it does deliver on probably some of the best inputs you can have on mobile gaming, while still having a useful price point. To me, that separates it from the other devices, the other Tegra devices that were being used. I forgot that green thing that they had before this. They tried to release it. Just the input device just was not good to me. I would not see myself using that. And I kind of think that helps separate them from the rest of the crew. And yes, K-Bomb 20 is giving praises to Nintendo for a couple of things. It happens. It happens. Come on, guys. But back to Level's point. The thing is with Nintendo, and that what has really kept me away from Nintendo for all these years is that Nintendo is going to, I don't want to say force, but Nintendo is going
No, that's the right word. That's right.
They're going to tell you the way they do it is the best way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way they do their games, the way they do their online, the way they do the marketing, the way they censor you from doing certain simple things. That the way they do it is the best, and is the best for their consumers, because this is what their consumer base like. We have heard that from Reggie. We've heard that from Nintendo HQ. We've heard that for years. And for me, I don't like that. That's not how I prefer to play. That's not how I like to play. And that's kind of kept me away from Nintendo devices, because they want to tell me how I want to play, and I have to tell you that's not how I like it. And so what you see Nintendo being Nintendo. This second year, I don't see anything different than what they've done in the past. They just did a cleaner job of doing it last year, but it was a very similar thing. They told you Orange was the best fighting game you can have, and they try to convince you, hey, this is why this is the best fighting game you can have. They made Zelda to appear as if it's doing stuff that no one else has done.
But doesn't every company do that? Just to be fair. Yes, I ain't defending Nintendo. I'm saying let's be fair. All right.
Everyone does. All right. Everyone does. I won't. But there is just like there's a level of arrogance that comes from Sony that's unlike other places. There's a level of arrogance that comes when Xbox tells you Microsoft tells you certain things. There's a level of arrogance that comes from Nintendo that is unlike the other two. That's
true. That's legit. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to say. I'm not saying that what they're doing, no other company's doing, because Sony just told you next gen starts with us. So
they've been doing that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's not beyond that, but they do it in different ways. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. They each one of them does it in different ways, and Nintendo does it in the form of the way they censor you, and they tell you this is for the best. That this is the best way to play these games, is the way that we tell you should play it. And to me, that is what I'm referring to.
Now, I want to hear people in the comment section sound off on what they think about what we said, man. Don't get offended or anything. Just let us know what you think. But let me say this.
No, get offended. I'm offending everybody out. I'm shooting out.
I'm messing. But let me say this. Let me go back to what D2K. It's not that I'm disagreeing with D2K, but I'm still going to use the word ingenious, not from a sense of originality or innovation, because the Switch is not original. We seen that matter of fact, I got videos showing what the Switch possibly could be. Like, I can't remember what that thing was called, HD something thing they had. Pretty much like what the Switch.
You talking about the iQOO Morphous X300?
Yeah, and it was another one too. But yes, it did basically similar things. As far as the handheld part, it did what Nintendo is doing.
It was exactly the same. The only difference is that the Morphous X300 didn't have rumble Joy-Cons. It had glass. It had stereoscopic 3D.
Yeah,
and it retailed for the same price, basically about $300.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah,
that part. Well, that's dope. But what I'm talking about, and this ain't even. It still to me is ingenious for its resourcefulness. It's resourceful. And like I said, like what you can do with the Switch and the way Nintendo approached the technology, while not being original, has uniquenesses about it that differ it and separate it from others who have done things like it before the Switch did it. So I'm not going to sit up here and say Nintendo was just innovative and came out with this. Then no, but no, that's not true. That'd be an outright lie. But their ingeniousness was to be willing, as a company of their magnitude and size, to make that decision to do it when it would seem to be the wrong move. Because let's remember, you know what me and you were saying, me, you, and Keith, the only one that was screaming and I would say two, that was screaming about how good this could be for Nintendo to go this route. And we're going to give John Shaw credit in two ways because K-Bone will give him credit in another segment. Was Shaw, and I would say Jedi Knight. It was the only two that looked at the Switch and what it was doing as something smart. And so,
well, I'm gonna go a step further and say that John Shaw was basically saying, even before we knew what the Switch was, when we were just thinking about the Nintendo NX and we had no idea what it was going to be, he was saying that, hey, it would be cool if Nintendo did this.
Yeah.
And that's what the Switch wound up becoming. So all the people who are running around saying, oh, I knew the Switch was going to be a success first time I heard it, and blah, shut up. The only person in the YouTube community that gets to do that, as far as I know, is John Shaw, because he was the only person when everybody was thinking something else, the only person that came out and said that this would be a good idea if Nintendo did this without any knowledge whatsoever what they were going to do.
Yeah, it was maybe one or two others, but I know John was the loudest that we was around that was saying.
I mean, of course, you know, you had what's his name?
OJ.
Not OJ. No. What's his name? Dr. Damage Control 81.
Oh, Dr. Trey.
Yeah,
Dr. Trey.
You know, he was but he knew. You know,
yeah.
He had sources, so he knew. It wasn't like he just thought it was going to happen. He actually knew what was going on. So
right. So, but from that sense, I'm like, that's why I use Ingenious, the resourcefulness, and the just the changeability that and all the options it gives you, even down to controller options. Like, it separates itself from the pack in enough ways that I can still say it's an Ingenious device. When I was playing tabletop, controller in hand. I could have easily played with the Joy-Cons, motion control right there on the Switch, docked the tabletop mode, and have motion controls. I could have did anyway, and so that's what separates it from the pack. But like I said, just for the core attributes of what the Switch is, now that ain't innovative. It's basically borrowing ideas from others who were not as big and known as Nintendo was. So, you know,
so if we're basically all agreeing with what I initially said, that it was basically the interface, the controllers, and the marketing that made the Switch separate from the others. Because this Icon company, they were trying to sell that idea to somebody and nobody would pick it up. And a lot of people don't understand this or realize this, but you know, obviously they know that the Tegra X1 is what powers the Nintendo Switch, but the NVIDIA Shield wasn't really doing all that well. But you know, NVIDIA had this big surplus of, you know, Tegra, you know, CPU. So Nintendo said, hey, why don't you guys let us get this one cheap, and now you can make some money off of it, and we can do something different. And that's where that marriage came from.
Yeah, but that's still again, not to belabor this longer, that still to me points to Nintendo's ingeniousness, not necessarily the device itself, but what Nintendo did with the technology, with the innovation that came before it that it did not create, but what it did with the technology and how it utilized it, even to take the Tegra X and do what it's currently doing. And basically prove it in a way that NVIDIA could not. But only Nintendo could do that because Nintendo has the IPs to do it. It still was an ingenious move and then that Nintendo Touch with the controllers and all that. That's Nintendo ideas with technology that was already out there was ingenious as well. So that's where I'm using the word ingenious. I'm not really saying originality and innovation, but the added creative ideas that they added on the innovation, plus with the controllers and then how you dock it to the TV and all the extra stuff that Nintendo thought to do with that technology makes it ingenious to me.
Well, they say the necessity is the mother of invention, and after the flaming wreckage that the Wii U was, Nintendo had to come up with something really fast, right? And they basically had to do it real soon. They couldn't really wait until the normal time span or console lifespan of the Wii U expired and then release the console. They had to do something right then and there. So it was basically a marriage that fit both companies in both situations at the right time, and they knew exactly what they needed to do. And they didn't really have to be too creative. They just had to say, well, let's just take the idea of this is what the Wii U should have been in the first place. Now we got an opportunity to actually make that happen.
Right. So it irks me when Nintendo, everything seems to align, and like K-Bum said, then Nintendo tries to force or prove that they know best. And I'm like, man, how much farther could this thing go if Nintendo will submit to the fact that somebody else has it better than you and just follow what they did? like you basically did that. Funny. Like somebody else does it better. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Do what you did with the Switch. Take an idea that was already out there and add your own touches. You ain't got to change the wheel to make it yours. Just add certain things. Like you could have added the NES stuff onto what's currently being done on the other platform.
That should have been day one.
So
basically, I want to mentally note this. So basically, what you just said is that Nintendo should be Sony and just copy what other people are doing.
In this sense, they should copy Sony and Microsoft.
No. I didn't say copy Sony and Microsoft. I said be like Sony and just copy what other people are doing.
Right. Well,
that's the running joke of Sony is they just copy everything.
What they do. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna deal with that.
No.
Anyway, not right now though. Let's hold up.
All right, I got you.
But moving from this topic, we're gonna table this. We'll come back to this. I don't want to stay on Nintendo forever. Let's move to Sony. Do y'all want to hit our main topic, or do you want to hit one more thing with Nintendo and kind of get it out the way?
It don't matter to me. I got dinner coming at 7:30, so we can't be too long.
Okay, let me say this, man. So, and get Nintendo on out the way, so we can deal with these next two topics. I saw that Panic Button showed some of Warframe for the Switch, and it looks very good. Now, you would think that'd be a positive thing, but it is positive. And I know D2K gonna explain why it shouldn't be seen as that, but I'm gonna say it's positive. But I am concerned because I'm seeing what Panic Button is doing and what could be done with the Switch. It makes me ponder why other companies, including Nintendo themselves, aren't doing some of the stuff, not doing some of the stuff that Panic Button is seemingly able to draw out of the Switch. Like we got Metroid Prime 4 coming. And when you see a game like Warframe, Wolfenstein, you see a game like Doom and some of these other games that they were able to get on the Switch and looking pretty darn good. What if Nintendo comes with a Metroid Prime that doesn't have the artistic flavor that we want? If that makes what, and I kind of brought this up last week when we was talking about Wind Waker. What if they do that? Like, would that really disappoint you when you know they could actually do something visually more realistic and more close to what Metroid Prime 4 was on the GameCube? I'm scared they might be going a whole different way with the visuals, and I'm concerned that this might, I don't know, this is just my inkling. I'm hoping that they don't, but I could see them going a way that they didn't have to go. And seeing what Panic Button is doing with the Switch, it just proves to me that Nintendo can probably do it themselves if they thought enough to do it. Go ahead, whoever want to take that. Just trying to get this out of the way and we go to the next topic.
You mean Panic Button and what that Bethesda? That
Bethesda, yeah.
What they've done. Bethesda does Doom and Wolfenstein, right? That's Bethesda.
Yes, but they let Panic Button
right.
Yeah.
They let Panic Button did it, yeah. But it's the same similar thing where it's realistic graphics. It's not cartoony or shell shaded or something like that.
Which I had no problem with.
Right. They're good looking games, but if you, I personally, I've said this. I don't know what podcast. You probably gotta go back and find it. But I've been asking for a long time, and I think even on Twitter I put a question up: is when the last time a Nintendo IP actually chose to go realistic graphics instead of kind of cartoony graphics? Because to me, I appeal to a certain type of games, and I lean more to the God of Wars and the realistic type graphics. And again, I talk about it. I talk about the drops of sweat on the skin. I'm sorry, that's how I like gaming. That appeals to me. That's my taste. And so I don't know if people, again, I'm not as in touch with the Nintendo community and even more the Metro Prime community to know if they would be upset if Nintendo didn't go towards more of a realistic set of graphics, which they can actually do, and have seen it be done by third parties on their system. Thing is, Nintendo, and I'll say this: you can take it negative if you want, if you don't. Nintendo lives off of nostalgia. They don't really live off of creating some kind of not brand new experience. They always create some kind of brand new experience, but it's still based on a high level of nostalgia for the
most part,
for the fan base. I mean,
for the most part, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because Zelda was a new experience, but there was a lot of fan service in that new experience, and there's still a lot of new age stuff that they're not doing, even full blown voice acting, which I will continue to harp on, but that they don't accept and do. They're doing DLC, but then they're following the same track with other people when it comes to DLC. So I don't know. For me, I probably would probably would be what it probably would appeal to me more if the Metro Prime was utilizing realistic graphics. If it looked something sci-fi like Warframe and stuff like that, because that's my cup of tea. That's what I like, and so that's what I would lean towards. That's just me. So for me, I would say for the Nintendo community that likes Metro Prime. I don't know if I have enough enough foot in that game to know if they would be upset about that.
Well, let me say what Keith said, because I think he make an interesting point. First, he said Nintendo refuses to admit that the N64 was their downfall market as market leaders, which is true. They haven't. I can see that, but I like what he said here. He said they can't change it, talking about Metroid Prime at this point because it's a continuation. Wind Waker was his own thing. Zelda can have multiple art styles. I agree, but this is Nintendo. And at that point when Wind Waker came, we didn't think they was going to change that either, but they did. And they went a way that we wasn't expecting. And I'm hoping that your theory is right, that Nintendo look at this as a continuation and they must keep up with what Retro Studios created with Metroid Prime and expand on that on a more powerful system. But Nintendo has ways of, like K-Bump saying, we know best. And while the experience might be great and you might love the game anyway, I really want to see a more realistic, and this is just with this title. I'm not the guy that need realistic graphics. I like animated graphics over realistic. But for Metroid Prime and what Metroid Prime can be for the Switch, I wanted to have realistic graphics, and I wanted to do it at a quality level like what I see Panic Button pulling off with the ports that they're bringing over from other third-party companies. And I'm like, I'm concerned that Nintendo might not take that approach, which it wouldn't hurt the game far as me playing it, but it will be like, man, I just would have loved to see what a more realistic approach to this could have done for the game. I'll let D2K say something, then we'll move on to our main topic.
I don't think what Panic Button is doing or not doing has any relevance on the art style that Nintendo may or may not choose.
I know that.
Metroid Prime 4. I think that what Panic Button is doing is using the Switch the way it was meant to be used. I don't really marvel at anything that I see on the Switch because this is 2017. Okay. Well, I mean, you're supposed to get graphics. I mean, this is 2017, and we're sitting here wondering.
Actually, it's 2018, right?
Well, 2018. Excuse me.
Okay, I'm like, did I go back in the past?
but the Switch is a 2017 console.
Okay, my bad.
That's what That's what I was trying to say.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
2017 console, but we're trying to catch up to graphics of consoles that were released in 2013. So the fact that they're making games look as good as they do, it should at least be able to do that.
But I think I understand what you're saying, D2K, but I think that's taking it away from what I'm actually pointing to with why I'm using Panic Button. I'm not saying that the graphics are impressing me like, oh my God. I'm saying with the Switch and seeing Panic Button doing what was unexpected with the Switch, I'm going off of what folks said that could not be done. Now, of course,
who are these folks?
A lot of like some of these developers said when the Switch was coming out that their games could not run on that device.
And what did I tell you about that?
I know, that's my point. That's what I'm pointing to. So it ain't about being impressed to see these type of graphics. We see these graphics. The point is now that we see that these games can look like this on the Switch, I'm putting onus on Nintendo. Not that Panic Button should be informing Nintendo. What I'm saying is Nintendo also rides the wave of that. You kind of hit on it earlier. Nintendo is masters at doing the bare least that they can do without getting called out for it. Mm-hmm. Meaning they do just enough to where you can like Wind Waker. Great game. Really great game. But because of its greatness, we give it a pass for the visuals, which was good looking, a very beautiful game. But I also see Nintendo doing that because it's easier to do that than to do what they did with the premiere of the Wii U and tried to show a realistic Zelda that we have never seen, that we all gushed over. They won't really do that. See what I'm saying? And that, to me, they take advantage of the whole thing. The third party say the Switch can't do that, and Nintendo, to me, takes advantage of that understanding. Since everybody don't think we can do this, we can get away with doing just enough. But now that it's been exposed that this system can do that and do better than what you're offering, then I want Nintendo to do better with this type of a title than they would had other third parties said we can't do that. Then they can get away with shell shading and a more animated, cartoony look because the system really can't do that. Well, that's been proven false. It can do that. So why aren't you doing that, Nintendo? Because you know the system more than Panic Button. See what I'm saying? So that's my idea with it.
I think I kind of understand what you're saying now. It's like you're kind of saying that Nintendo doesn't have anything to hide behind in terms of not giving you the realistic looking Metroid Prime 4.
Right.
Well, like I've said many times in the past, is that it doesn't really make any difference because Nintendo fans are going to buy it anyway. It doesn't matter what art style they choose, whether it's realistic or if it's pseudo-realistic or if it's literally animated, cell shaded anime or something like that, which would be cool actually if they went that route. Because I saw something where it was like an anime style Zelda movie or game or something like that. It was a full motion video sequence or something, but it looked pretty cool. And I said, I'll be interested if they took that direction. But I think that, well, first of all, I don't know if I would call the the Metroid Prime series photorealistic, real tight graphics. I mean, it was more realistic than like ARMS or something like that, or Wind Waker, or whatever. But it still kind of had a cartoony feel to it.
The game, it was the GameCube though. You got to look at the era that game came out, and that was probably one of the technically best looking games outside of I would say the Star Wars game.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, because you got the Star Wars game, but you also had all the Resident Evil games.
Resident Evil 4, Metroid Prime. To me, the first Metroid Prime was up there with them titles, in my opinion. That's my opinion, but I won't say it.
But like I said, it's not. See, a lot of people, art style and graphics are two completely different conversations.
I'm just talking art style.
The art style can be cartoony, but still have a tremendous amount of detail, which requires a lot of horsepower in order for you to be able to display that without it looking blurry and terrible. For instance, you can make a Mario game, and Mario could look exactly the way that he normally looks, like he does in Mario Odyssey or whatever, but you can get so intricate in terms of the textures to where you can actually see the fibers on his overalls and hairs coming off and that would take a system with a lot of power to pull that off, even though from a distance it still looks like a cartoon type game. So I don't think there's anything to worry about with Metroid Prime. I think that the only thing that you really have to worry about is this is a completely new team working on this game. Right. And none of the people that made Metroid Prime what it was are working on this game, so they're going to have to rely on, I'm pretty sure these people are fans of the game, otherwise they wouldn't be involved in it. Sometimes fans can do justice to a title, and sometimes they kind of go off the tracks. For example, like Killer Instinct. They were fans of the game, but Double Helix and eventually Iron Galaxy had their own ideas, and they kind of went left big time on that game. So there's a possibility something like that could happen. But Nintendo has too many chips lined up with this game. This is really the only major heavyweight first-party game other than the Pokemon games they really announced they have coming. So they can't. So they can't afford to blow it. Really,
that's why I'm concerned, because this is, like you just said, for right now. We got Bayonetta 3, we have Prime 4, and we have the real mainline Pokemon title supposedly coming sometime between now and the future. We don't know, because they didn't give no date that is coming out next year. We just assume that it is. But I hope, even down to, and as far as the visuals and the artistic flavor, like I like Killer Instinct. It's got that anime look, but it also like metal looks like metal. See what I'm saying?
Right.
It got the sheen and the shine and I'm fine with that. I just want Nintendo to do that. I don't want Nintendo to do something else and we like, man, dude, why? And I don't want that, and I'm scared. I hope that they don't do that. But to not stay on this, let's move on. And let's get to Sony, skipping E3. So I just heard this yesterday. No E3 press conference 2019 for Sony. Now, I'm going to throw this over to you, K-Bum, because I'm pretty sure you got more information than I have. Have there been any announcements? Are they doing some alternative thing during E3? Or are they just a no-show? Not like, kind of like E3, like EA did they didn't show up at E3, but they had their own thing across the street in another building doing their own thing around the time of E3. Is this what Sony is doing? Or are they just totally, I'm done with E3 as far as this year, 2019, we ain't doing nothing?
I'm going to say I have not heard, maybe they did announce, but I personally have not heard what they're doing instead of the press conference at E3. I'm assuming that they're going to be doing the same thing that EA is doing, where EA has their own little event outside of it's in LA, but it's outside of E3 and it's not related to E3. It's just done at the same time people are at E3.
Let me do this real quick. Welcome to the show, Alex Prime.
You're not gonna call him Prim?
No, I got it right this time, man. I got it right this time. So, welcome to the show. Why is it doing that? Anyway, and welcome to the show, Zilla Stump. Welcome to the show, bro. My stump acting up. So, welcome to the show, both of you guys. I want to say what Zilla Stump said in the comment. He said, I think they will have some event during the fall of 2019. Have you heard anything like that?
What they said in their kind of like presser is that, you know, they're exploring new ways to engage community in 2019. And they can't wait to share with you what they have. But I haven't really seen, like I said, they may have said it somewhere else, but I haven't heard it. But I'm assuming that they're going to do it around E3. I'm sorry, there's too much information that is given out in E3 to skip E3. I'm sorry. There's too much happens. Even Nintendo, who doesn't do anything, who doesn't really participate in E3, they don't skip giving information.
Sony Direct. What's the Zilla that?
It's called congratulations. You played yourself.
If they do that, Zilla, that's what I'm gonna play every time we talk from this point on, Sony.
It's called congratulations. You played yourself.
If they do a Direct, it's over. No, anyway, go ahead, man.
I know they like copying Nintendo. Just some things you don't have to. But remember, when Sony announced the PS4, it was not at E3. Normally,
it was their own event.
It was their own event.
Normally, you would every time before then you announce your console at E3. That's just what happens. That's what people do. They did not do that at E3. They did it in their own event. So okay, your question was, have they announced anything else? I don't know if they announced anything else. I haven't heard anything. I'm assuming they're going to kind of follow the trend that EA is doing and others are doing by having events around that time, but not actually E3. That's what I'm assuming. But
so
we'll see.
Let me ask this, and I'll jump to you, D2K. So they're not even showing up on the E3 floor. So this is press conference, nor will they be on the floor with games and machines to play and try out their new stuff.
I don't know if that was actually said. And so I guess I need some more information on what actually they're skipping. I know I heard press conference. I know I heard that.
Okay, if anybody is informed with what Sony plan is with them stepping out of E3, are they going to be on the E3 floor? Or are they totally not going to be at E3? Let us know. D2K, what's your thoughts on this, man, and what you feel like this is pointing to?
I never gave you my thoughts about it.
Go ahead, K-Bo.
I answered the question about my thoughts about Sony skipping. For me personally, I'm ticked. Well, let me not say that. Let me not say I'm ticked. Let me step back from that. If they don't show anything around E3 time, I'm ticked. Let me say that. If they skip E3 but do their own thing, I'm disappointed.
Okay.
Because
Alex said they are not at E3, period. Like nothing.
Okay.
So if they don't show up, if they don't do something around E3 time on their own at their own place, then it's nothing.
Okay. Yeah, I'll keep my statement that I'm disappointed right now because I don't know if they're not doing anything, but I'm disappointed because my whole dream as a kid, since I was a kid, was to go to E3 and to be at this event and have all these and have my favorite console of choice to be there and do all that and play all that and be around all the people. So I'm upset and disappointed that reality is slowly fading away as E3 is slowly dying, as someone has said many times on this podcast before, and who said it before anybody else was actually saying it. Mr. John Shaw actually spoke about this a
Yes, he did.
long time ago.
He preached this.
Oh,
So
he
he said
prophesied that.
E3 is a dying event.
Yep.
Just for people to go out there and get free stuff.
Yep.
And look important. It ain't worth your time. That's what he said.
Yep.
I never
He's
get
been preaching that for a long time, and it's funny because hey, sometimes you gotta get credit where credit's due. The man was right. E3 is slowly dying, which, like I said, for me, it hurts me because I grew up loving E3 and anticipating E3, and I actually, as a grown man, I would take off work for E3 because if I was at work, I wasn't going to be productive because I'm looking at all the videos and everything else and trying to catch the press conference. So just to make myself be able to keep my job, I would take off during that time, so I wouldn't be preoccupied by looking at what else is going on. And so personally, I'm disappointed at Sony for backing out, mainly based off of my hopes and dreams of being part of E3 one day and being able to go to the Sony booth and the Nintendo or Xbox booth and be able to be a part of that. And so that's my feelings behind that. But like I said, I don't like Sony stepping out. It is a trend that is starting to happen. I'm not excusing Sony for it because I wish they wouldn't. I wish they would still be a part of it. That they would still be on the floor and stuff like that. But it is a trend. You know, I'm not giving them a pass about it, but it's a trend that other companies have already started, and apparently they're following suit.
Okay, D2K, what's your thoughts, man?
I don't really know. I guess it really depends on what they wind up doing. I can't really speculate on why they wouldn't be there this year. I mean, I can give my opinions about it, but I don't know how much I can really add to what K-Bomb just said, other than the fact that there's really no reason for Sony to be there at this point. And if there's any time that they could afford to do it, it's now, simply because this generation is basically over, that they won it by a country crocodile mile. And there's really nothing that they need to do in order to gain support or garner support or retain support, because loyal Sony fans are not going anywhere. And, casual Sony fans, there's enough new stuff on the horizon that's already been previously announced to keep Sony relevant until they're ready to announce the PlayStation 5 initially. So I think that could play a lot into it, that, we got all our chips in the PlayStation 5 basket right now, where there's no reason for us to be there. I mean, we saw E3 this year, and most of us looked at Sony's conference and said, no thank you. For a lot of reasons. It just didn't, the whole thing was weird. A lot of it, there's a lot of blasphemy in it and stuff like that. It felt wrong. Everything about their conference felt wrong. But the games they showed were games, a lot of them we had already seen. We already knew that they were coming. Either we saw them from the year previous, or we saw them at the PlayStation Experience, before E3. So there was just a reiteration of stuff we already knew, plus a couple of new things that they could have announced in a commercial somewhere. So it really wasn't necessary for them to even be there then. So now, if they're just working on PlayStation 5 type stuff, then there's no reason for them to be there again. So I won't miss them being at E3. And if they come out and they announce the PlayStation 5 in the fall, like maybe at TGS or their own event or something like that, I think people will, and if it's the PlayStation 5 is something amazing, I think people will forget all about the fact they went at E3. But what this means going forward for E3, I think this is a huge blow to the relevance of the event. You already have Nintendo doesn't do press conferences anymore. They don't even have to do their Nintendo Direct at E3. They could do it whenever they want. That's why they established the whole Nintendo Direct as a thing. So Nintendo just said, well, we're not doing Nintendo Directs around E3 time anymore. It wouldn't make any difference, because you get maybe 10 or 11 Directs a year from Nintendo, something around there. So, it was I don't think it's that big of a deal. I really don't.
Okay. I think it is a big deal as far as E3 goes and the spectacle of E3. Sony is like when we saw EA like say they done with E3 as far as doing something at the event, but they did something during the event. You really didn't feel the effects of them not being at E3. You had their press conference that Saturday, and it was the same because I don't really stick around. I'm not at E3, so I don't care about what's on the floor of E3. That part don't bother me. I can care less if Sony don't show up at E3, but it would be shocking if Sony doesn't have some type of digital event, EI akin to, something like a direct during E3 that's their own thing announcing their games, but they're not going to E3, the event that's in California with people walking. I think that part of E3 is honestly played out. You got enough other shows like PAX and all the different PAX and all the different other shows that go on throughout the year that Sony can literally go to them places and do that. E3 is just actually extra stuff that they do because E3 was such a big thing, and they probably saving a lot of money. And like D2K said, really, because of the seat that Sony is in right now, do we really need to set up all these TVs and pay all these employees to allow all these people to play these games at this show? Do we need to spend all this money when the biggest part of the show is the press conferences, and we can do that like they did last year in their own at a theater that wasn't even at E3? It was way across town. They was a satellite thing. That's what made it so awkward. They was trying something new, and I think what they tried then was basically a forerunner for what they was planning on doing this year. Will they not be around the time of E3 or like an EA maybe do something that Saturday or that Friday before E3 have their own stage press conference? I believe they will. But I don't see E3 as a big deal anymore. Nintendo, I remember folks was mad with Nintendo when they decided that they would not do any more press conferences and told them. I remember Shokyo specifically saying this is the worst move ever, and people, and then look what Nintendo is now. Nintendo do their directs, and we all wait for.
But you know what? After I saw that show, that presentation that they had for the Switch last year, the year before last, that was like, yeah, you need to stick with Nintendo Directs.
Yeah, like Nintendo does directs way better than they ever did the stage at E3. And then you got EA. Now you got other companies. Microsoft bought their own studio. Remember that? Microsoft bought a theater. This is basically the writing on the wall. Sony, let's be honest. I'm a Nintendo guy. I love Nintendo, but Sony pulling out is big. Out of the three, this is a big pull. Like, this is going to hurt E3. I'm just going to be honest. I mean, let's just be real here. Microsoft could have pulled out and it wouldn't have been as big of a deal. Nintendo, like they did, wasn't as big of a deal, but they had stuff on the floor. Sony pulling out entirely is a humongous deal. I mean, that's going to cripple E3 because Sony having the leverage that they have with the system selling like it is, with third party kind of catering to Sony, and they probably got these contracts to where a game's supposed to be shown first and promoted on Sony devices. That means they can't show it on the Xbox because the marketing deal is with Sony. That's gonna hurt. See what I'm saying? Like if our marketing deal is with Sony and Sony is not at E3 at all, what does that do for those games? What does it do for them companies with those games? It's a big blow. It's a big blow to E3. But I believe Sony is working on something of their own that I think E3 is a old dinosaur that we love to love, but the writing was on the wall, like John Shaw said years ago. We've been seeing the E3 far as living up to the hype has been failing us for the probably last 5 years, to be honest with you. It hasn't been living up to the hype that is E3. Nothing that they show at E3 actually really lives up to it. And I get my kicks from Nintendo with the directs. We just got the XO from Microsoft. I think Sony skipped out on their PlayStation experience, right? Am I wrong on that, K-Bone?
You are correct. They skipped.
Are they planning one for? Because I remember that one year they did an experience in February, and that's where they announced the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, the PS4.
Are they doing that?
Not that I've heard.
So basically, if Sony goes silent, if they go silent during the summer, it's because they're gonna have some early spring or something fall, and I think they just basically trying to pull the rug away from under E3. They trying to kill it, and that's gonna save them money, man. I mean, it's probably wasted money, and it probably ain't doing what it once did. There's so many ways that they can do what they did at E3 with the internet and with everybody having YouTube and streaming. They don't need E3 no more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a dinosaur, man. We just love the dinosaur, but this dinosaur been dying, and Sony took the knife out and it's like, look, y'all can't kill it, but I can. And that's what they doing. Sony is the only person that they pulling out. It's dead, man. I mean, Nintendo already gone.
This is akin to like Marvel saying that we're not going to San Diego Comic-Con anymore.
They actually didn't do they didn't show anything Comic-Con actually this past year.
And you didn't hear much about it, did you?
No. Well, I mean, I knew because
I'm not saying that you didn't hear the hype of San Diego Comic-Con.
No, you didn't.
Was way down.
It was way down because Sony did. I mean, not Sony. Marvel didn't show anything in Comic-Con. So yes, it was way down this year.
So when Nintendo already pulling out and kind of showing that you can, because honestly, people thought Nintendo was crazy. They was the first to do it, and I never forget how many people was upset. And I kind of was concerned, but that direct that they showed that year with Iwata and Reggie fighting, and I was like, man, and with the cow chicken, something they did, some skit they did, and
Robot Chicken.
Yeah, Robot Chicken and all that. They proved there's another way to do this. You don't have to do this traditional way no more. And the internet and the way things going, I see all the other companies starting to say the same thing. We don't need you. Well, Nintendo might not have been as big enough to kill E3. Sony is. And Sony pulled out the proverbial sword and basically said, we done with this and chop this thing. They killing it. Because Sony moving, that's blood and life. You can't live without Sony at an event like E3. You cannot have Sony not be there. That's like having the Jackson 5 and Michael Jackson don't show up. I'm sorry, man. I didn't come to see you, Tito. So I think Sony.
That's good, man. That was good.
I'm just being honest. I mean, Nintendo was a big blow, but the position Nintendo was in at that time, Nintendo was a joke. They just now starting to be respected. So Nintendo pulling out it was made a joke because they were a joke at that time to the industry. They were a joke. They was outside. They wasn't even Cinderella. They was the Hunchback of Notre Dame. That's who they were of the gaming industry. So them pulling out, it was smart, but who cared? It's Nintendo. Let them do their thing. Sony? No, bruh. No, Sony pulling out, that's a whole nother level of bad for E3. It's done, man. That's it. That's it. No more hip-hop gamers screaming. Really? That's it. That's what done.
He'll think of something.
So, yeah, I think like I said, E3 ain't lived up to the hype in the last 4 or 5 years. Probably even longer than that, if I be honest. So I'm not bothered by it. I know, K-Bum, you being more of a Sony guy, this probably would bother you.
I don't like it.
But we getting enough throughout the year from these guys. Do we really care about E3? We get enough announcements pre-E3 than we do at E3.
Man, that's like, to me, that's like your mama saying, "Well, baby, I get you presents all year round. Why is Christmas is a big deal for you, baby? Because it's Christmas, and just because it's E3, and I want to see you there. I don't care you give me stuff all year round. This is E3, just like Christmas. I want my stuff. I want my present.
Yeah, but if I'm getting presents 2 weeks, like my son's birthday is a week before Christmas, a few weeks before Christmas. If I get a whole bunch of gifts on that week, I don't care about Christmas. I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't. As long as I got what I wanted, I didn't have to get it on Christmas. I think our Christmas is done, Cable. It's over. It's over, people. It's done. Go home. Nothing to see here. Sony has killed the beast. It's over, man. But I don't have no problem with it. I was shocked when I saw the announcement, and I'm like, man, that's the final blow to E3. That's it.
Well, we'll see. I mean, if this is a temporary thing or if this is a permanent thing, based on what Sony has been doing over the past couple of years, it kind of seems like they've been trying to ease on out of E3. They don't want it to be an abrupt ending. They just pull away a little bit more. You know, now they can just, like I said, they're in a position where them not being there doesn't hurt them at all. It helps them because they save money, like K-Bomb was saying, and there's really nothing for them to talk about. I mean, because you're not really to talk about the PlayStation 5 yet, so you're going to go to E3 to talk about PlayStation 4 games that you've already talked about the past 2 E3s and PlayStation experience from last year or the year before. What's the point? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So, K-Bomb, any final thoughts on this, man, before we move on to this last topic and get out of here?
I want my presents.
That's another quotable. I'm just saying, man, like, just think about it. And I use the Nintendo Direct for E3. The Nintendo E3 Direct wasn't even better than the Direct that they had months later. That Direct was better than their E3 presentation. And it's like Sony last year at their own, like, they're finding ways to own the moment. You got to share the moment at E3. It's a big spectacle. And at the time before internet and streaming and all that, when you only can catch it on like G4 and all that, it was a big deal. But now that you got streaming and Sony can be like, hey, we finna have a live announcement. Tune in tomorrow. And everybody gonna be there. All the just the fans as well as the reviewers and the journalists, all they're gonna be watching the same stream as we watching and getting the information at the exact same time. It's actually more control for Sony. They can control the narrative. They can control the conversation, just like Nintendo. The Direct allows Nintendo to control the conversation to where the journalists don't have time to spin it because we've seen it at the exact same time they are seeing it. Now you can't spin it and we getting secondhand opinion. We getting firsthand the same time you saw it, we saw it. The same announcement you heard, we heard. And that is changing the game for announcing this stuff and the ability to have a one-on-one, a one-to-one type of relationship with information to your direct to your fans. You can literally hurdle over journalists and the in-between guys and just go directly to your fans. It's more powerful. You can control your message, and your fans go buy into you quicker by doing it that way than they would listening to somebody else who's giving their opinion of what you said. And I think it's just a smarter and a way of doing it. And I think E3 is just an old tooth that ain't been pulled out yet. And I think Sony like, I'm tired of this tooth, and I'm finna pull it out. They got the clout to do it. So
I think that, you know, that's part of the reason why Microsoft went ahead and created their own event as well, the X08, because they probably knew what Sony was planning to do, and they said we need to get on board with that and get our own thing together too, because Nintendo's got their own thing, Sony's got their own thing. We don't got nothing. So I think that, you know, it's a matter of time before we be playing taps for E3.
Right. Let me send a shout out to is that Colbert Marquez? Welcome to the show, bro. Well, let's get to this last topic. Well, we got one between that real quick. I don't know if y'all been hearing a lot of the reviews for the PlayStation 1 Classic. I haven't heard one positive one yet. And with the list of games on there, are y'all interested in it?
I didn't know it was out.
It ain't out yet. They just got people have gotten it to review it.
Oh.
And they are reviewing it, and their take is these is poor game choices from Sony. Like the games they chose to put on the device actually is what's hurting the device. So, like, they said it might be a fail before it even hit market because of the games that they chose to put on there. Most of them, a lot of people don't even know about, and them games wasn't even. It's like the NES bundle with the online service for the Switch is trash, and that's what they said with the Switch, with the PlayStation Classic.
Well, if people are going to listen to what other people have to say and let them form their opinions for them, then it's definitely going to it's definitely not going to do well. But if people actually go and look at things and say, hey, I used to love playing these games, I can't wait to play this, and they don't have any other way to play it, it'll do just fine. I've seen the list, and I don't know what people are complaining about. I mean, it doesn't have every single game that I would want to play for the PlayStation, but my goodness, I mean, what else do you? It's we live in a time where people are just never satisfied with anything. You know, if you give them exactly what they want, they still find a reason to complain about it.
Well, again, that's the point. I don't think just going out on looking at the list I saw, I was shocked. I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't a PlayStation guy at that time, but the titles I thought would have been on there wasn't there, like Crash Bandicoot and games that this PlayStation was known for are not there. There's a lot of games that was obscure and most folks didn't play and didn't want. That wasn't when I worked at Blockbuster. A lot of the games they named and them nobody rented them, played them games, and that's what's there. And I think it's because of licensing and Sony don't own these titles. They got what they could get, and I don't think it's appealing to those who research and look at the game list. I don't think it's going to appeal to anybody that came from that era and loved the PlayStation 1.
Well, these are the games: Final Fantasy VII Classic,
okay.
Wild Arms, I never heard that before. Tekken 3 Classic, Ridge Racer Type 4. I don't remember playing that particular one, but right. Ridge Racer period is a good game. Jumping Flash, I remember, I think I had a Sony demo disc or something when I got the PlayStation. I think Jumping Flash was on there or something. I never really played it, never really was interested in playing it. Resident Evil Classic, Metal Gear Solid Classic, Oddworld, not a classic, but it's a cult classic. I remember playing that game a lot over my friend's house, and it's definitely a cool game if you were into Oddworld type games. Siphon Filter, ugly game, but it's a classic ugly game. Battle Arena Toshinden, yeah, that's that's the game that got me interested in the PlayStation, because my electronics teacher was a huge Sony fanboy. And every time we would come to class, he would bring some type of new camera or something that he bought with Sony and talk about how great it was, whatever. So my friend actually got the PlayStation, the import PlayStation, when it was out in Japan. And he recorded himself playing some games on the PlayStation. And the teacher let us watch that in class. And I remember watching Battle Arena Toshinden, and I'm like, this is amazing. Because I had not seen anything like that before. Now you look at it now, it's like, holy, good grief. But back then, that was a classic game, and it's still a cool game to play in terms of gameplay. So I would like to play that game again. Twisted Metal, that's another classic Sony title. Cool Borders 2, yeah, I don't know about that. Destruction Derby, another one. Grand Theft Auto, that's another one. Rayman, I'm not really into the Rayman games. But Some people are, and that could be a classic game for them too. Mr. Diller, I never heard of that. Intelligent Cube, I never heard of that. Revelations Persona, I don't know what that is. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, absolutely. And Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, yep. So I would say 70% of the games on this list are games that I would like to play.
So listen to you name off the list. I heard about 50% of the games questionable, definitely questionable, like trash, close to trash. Then you named about 30 to 40, I would say definitely classics. And then there's probably about another 20% I'd say can fade in between.
Well, some of those some of those games I never played, so I can't say they were good or bad.
Right, but you asked me for $99 for those games.
Well, let's put it this way. If this game could be hacked the same way the Nintendo classic games can be hacked, and you could put your own PlayStation games in there and have it the way that you want.
Right, I agree with that. I'm just saying for the average casual gamer who wouldn't know how to do that, wouldn't think to do that, you're asking them to pay $99, almost $100 for average titles that honestly the PlayStation wasn't known for. The titles that you knew the PlayStation for outside of Tekken and maybe 3 others you named are not there. You have no Crash Bandicoot, you have no Spyro the Dragon, you have no Tomb Raider, it's a few other ones I can name that they didn't have there. And it's like, where are those titles that we knew the PlayStation for?
Well, a lot of these games I knew the PlayStation for, like I was playing with the Battle Arena Toshinden, of course, Grand Theft Auto. And Grand Theft Auto kind of got everything started for us. So that's the main reason, one of the major reasons why Sony won was because of Grand Theft Auto.
Right.
But
Alex got it up here. Gran Turismo was the other one. I seen Alex.
Yeah. When you look at when you look at the NES Classic, you're paying what is that, like $50?
Yeah, it
was $50. These games are almost 40 years old.
Yeah,
and games that you already own 3 or 4 times. And people went, yeah, you did. You had the original NES games. You brought them from the Wii U on the virtual console.
No, I didn't. Not the
Wii U. I'm talking about the Wii.
I didn't.
You didn't buy any. You didn't buy any on the Wii. Okay, but a lot of people did. A lot of people brought them on the Wii U, the original when they first came out in the store, and they went back to them later to their mom and pop store. And then you went out and bought the classic again, and then they went out and got the online service again.
I'm not arguing. I'm not defending.
So the same people that have that mentality to do that will look at the $99 for the PlayStation 1 Classic and say, hold my beer.
Well, I'm saying the same people who reviewed the Classic and the Super NES Classic is reviewing, and these ain't this. And matter of fact, the one dude I watched review is a Sony guy. He ain't just wasn't a Nintendo guy or somebody. This is a Sony dude looking forward to when he got done going through the list. I didn't know half the 70% of the list I had never heard of. And I worked at Blockbuster and I knew the Toshinden, I knew about that one. Tekken, of course, who doesn't know about Tekken? Rayman, I knew that. Resident Evil, I think is not it was Resident Evil 2, which the one that blew up is the original Resident Evil, which wasn't good. Like, there's a lot of the games that, again, it's debatable. But
like you just said, you're a Nintendo guy, and you were saying that you didn't buy any virtual console games either. So
no, that's why I didn't go out and get the Classic.
Right. So exactly. See, yeah. So that's kind of immaterial. You're proof that just because you're a fan of that console doesn't mean that you can be taken for a fool.
Yeah,
and some people are, and some people will say, I don't care that I already have this stuff. I'm going to buy it again. I don't care. I want to buy it as many times as they tell me to buy it. If Nintendo comes out with another console, they'll buy it again.
Right. I'm just saying. I'm
sorry, that's funny.
I'm with you, but my only pushback is the price point doesn't fit what they offer.
Well, the
If
price.
it was $60, I could see this, but 99, almost $100. No, I can't see it.
Well, the price point has to do with the storage. You know, if people keep forgetting that this is a CD-based console, not a cartridge-based console. Like you can have the entire NES library, and that's only like 125 megabytes. But PlayStation, now you're dealing with each game having 650 to 700 megabytes. So you need more flash space to store those games, and that's probably what you're really paying for is the flash memory in the PlayStation 1 Classic.
Okay, I didn't think about that. That's a good take. I'm still gonna be like but I did that.
I'm not saying it's not a good price. It is too expensive.
Yeah, I'm just at the price.
It's way too expensive. But you know, like I said, if I was a Sony drone, then I would go out and get this. There's nothing about the games list that turns me off.
Okay, all right. Well, I concede. There's a thought I wanted to see what y'all thought. So let's move to this.
I don't know if you even asked me about it. Did you?
He sure didn't.
Yeah, I did. What is your thoughts on the Classic, K-Bum? Since you are the Sony guy,
saying you didn't even ask the Sony guy about the Sony product.
What's your thoughts on the Sony product?
I was too busy in the comments section arguing with somebody.
Yeah, I saw.
I probably shouldn't have. Because I have no idea what this person is talking about. But anyway, I don't live in nostalgia, so I'm not touching it. It doesn't get me excited to play Tekken 3. What? Why would I do that? I'm Tekken 7. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I wouldn't touch it. If it was $50, I wouldn't touch it. If it was $25, I wouldn't touch it. I can get all those in a ROM. Well, let me not say the word ROM because apparently people are getting sued $12 million for ROMs. So let me not even say that.
To say it?
No, not to say it. There was a lawsuit against people who had ROM site. Nintendo sued them $12 million and won.
Yeah,
they paid $12 million because they had a ROM site.
Yeah, they did.
So let me not say ROM because I don't want them come looking at me. But anyway. No, man. For the people, I guess, who really wants to play old Sony games, I guess. I don't know. I just it's Nintendo thing never did anything to me. The Sega thing didn't do anything to me. The Sony thing doesn't do anything. It doesn't matter how long I played it. I mean, I don't even play PS3 games, so. So yeah,
it's just like the plug and play, you know, sets like the Atari and
but those are
stuff like that.
$15-$20.
But still, I mean,
$7. Yeah, I'll plug and play with $7. I'll do it once and never play it again though. If I never actually own them, I played at somebody's house. Like, oh, that's fun for 5 minutes. Where's my PlayStation 4?
Yeah, pretty much.
So let's go to this last topic when we out of here. So Microsoft had their XO experience or whatever it was, and I heard a lot of complaints about it, but I went and watched it, and I just didn't see what the complaint was about. It was Microsoft showing their games. I didn't see nothing to be upset about. It was about on par with what they did at E3, in my opinion. Similar stuff, announcing studios that they acquired or that they bought. A few announcements that wasn't expected. A lot of games shown. A lot of excited fans. Did y'all see anything to be upset about the Microsoft experience? Did you feel like it was a disappointment? I don't, but
no.
Curious what y'all think. D2K.
No, there's nothing disappointing about it. I'll be honest. A lot of people are just throwing shade at Microsoft because they're actually getting their act together and they can't use them as their whipping dog anymore. Not Nintendo, but Microsoft is actually doing the things that they said they need to do. They're cleaning up a lot of the garbage they said they need to clean up. And now they don't have anything to stand on in terms of pointing at Microsoft saying, aha, look at you guys are failures. Well, they're doing everything that you said they need to do to fix, and they're fixing it. So now what? I'm not saying this is going to be the jumping off point of Microsoft taking over the industry. I'm just saying that, they've been making so many catastrophic mistakes in the past, and it seems like now they got a game plan. They have a direction. They know what they want to do. They know where they're going, and they're doing making all the right moves. And some people just can't handle it because if it's not their company doing something great, then they don't acknowledge it or give praise to it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'll say what I got to say at the K-Bum going. I give my thoughts on why people are tripping, and why they need to stop tripping. But anyway, I'll deal with it. Go ahead, K-Bum.
Oh, I have no thoughts. You can go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right.
No,
so
I didn't watch the event, so.
Oh, okay.
So
it was like an E3 out. It was like a Sony press conference that they were having E3 outside of E3. That's what it was.
Now, for Xbox.
Yeah, for Xbox. It's an exclusive thing for Xbox.
Yeah.
Wasn't bad. Just a couple hours of your time.
It's basically the Xbox experience instead of the PlayStation.
No, I know what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I know what it is. I didn't waste my time looking at it.
Right. I understand.
I know what it is, though.
you slick. Hold up.
It's called congratulations. You played yourself.
You slick. Anyway, this is what I would say. People, all those who saying Microsoft press conference sucked and all that, y'all need to get a grip. Microsoft is not worrying about 2019. Microsoft is setting itself up for this next system. And they getting, like D2K said, they getting all they ducks in order. They righting the ship. They have conceded on this generation. They have said, Sony, you won. Now all we doing is getting our ducks in order, getting everything prepped and prepared for what we're about to do. So they're not finna go all out and do crazy stuff to win you to come and buy an Xbox. If you don't want to, if you was gonna buy an Xbox, you would have been unbought one. Currently, no, there is nothing to entice you to buy an Xbox. True. And Sony is also preparing for the next generation. Microsoft just started before Sony because Sony is kicking everybody's tail this generation. So Microsoft is like, we just getting things together so that when we launch our whatever the Scarlet system is, and we will launch our whole new approach and what we're trying to do with our next platform and with our whole dedicated service. And our what's the word they got where they have gaming anywhere? What they call that? Where you can play here, you can play there. Long as you play, like you can play on your computer, you can play on the Xbox.
Play anywhere.
Play anywhere. Did I say that?
Yes, you did.
I
When
wasn't
you
sure
can
if I
play it
said
anywhere. When you can play it anywhere, upstairs, in your basement, in your kitchen. What's that play anywhere? The thing is called play anywhere. What is it called?
It's called congratulations. You played yourself.
Anyway, I wasn't for sure if I said it, and I wasn't for sure if that was Sony's thing. See that, K-Bum? You didn't even let a brother explain. I wasn't for sure if that was Sony's thing. I knew I said it, but I wasn't for sure if I was saying something that was more related to Sony. That's why I was making sure that is that Microsoft. But anyway, that's what they doing. So don't expect much next year either. 2020 is it. That's when it's gonna pop. And that's when you're gonna see melt face games and announcements that's gonna have you going all crazy. Microsoft right now is conceding. They're waving the right flag. We lost this generation. We concede. You have it, Sony. Nintendo, you can have it. Y'all, Sony, you won. Nintendo, you made a comeback. We failed this generation. We acknowledge that. That's what they're doing. We acknowledge that we messed up. So we're just trying to galvanize our fans, our core fans, our core audience. We ain't even worrying about those outside of that group. We try to remind them that, hey, bro, we hear you guys. We're making the changes that you've been complaining about. We're fixing things. We're righting the ship. Just stay patient. We buying studios so that we can have first-party titles that can compete with the Sonys and the Nintendo first party. This is all the things Microsoft has messed up on. So no, you're not going to hear about Banjo-Kazooie or Perfect Dark and Battletoads and all these games that they have control of, because they're gonna bring all that stuff when they bring their new system out and play anywhere out. And when you're doing that, 2020 is when you need to wait for. So if you don't want the, go ahead.
So you telling me they about to ride this thing out like Nintendo did the Wii U?
Basically, they've been doing that. They ain't about to K-Ball. They've been on that for the last 2 years. They was on that about the exact same time Nintendo was with the Wii U.
Right.
So that's what's going on, people. So no, when I watched the event, it's basically saying we got stuff to play here if you want to play it. If you're an Xbox fan, this is what we got for you. No different than Nintendo was doing with the Wii U. If you're a Nintendo fan, hey, here's Captain Toad. Go get it. That's what they were doing. They didn't have nothing.
They had more than that.
I'm just saying, when Captain Toad came out, they made Captain Toad be the biggest thing it could be. He like, man, this is, dude, Nintendo, why y'all pumping this game up like it's a good game, but y'all shouldn't be pumping it like this. Any other time, this would be a forgettable title. They made it a standout title. And that's what Microsoft is doing right now. They have to do what they got to do to get through this generation. They lost Gears and all them games. Wait, Halo? Oh, you don't think they got a cold Halo ready? Yes, they do. They got a cold Halo game. You ain't seeing it till 2020, though. You ain't seeing none of that until you get the new system. And if you got an Xbox One S and back, you might as well go ahead and upgrade to an X or wait for the new thing because all this finna flip. What? Mark my words, man. So stop tripping. They're waving the right flag. You don't have to keep kicking them while they down. They already said we lost. I didn't see nothing wrong with the event. I think people just tripping and like D2K said, just want to kick a dog while a dog is down. So, and they really don't have anything to complain about. It's just the truth. Keith said, Captain Toad is the truth. But Alex said, how dare you with this Captain Toad slander? I apologize, but it wasn't true. Y'all know I ain't lying. Nintendo was throwing them titles out there like this stuff was Mario Odyssey and stuff. Like, bro, this is Captain Toad. This ain't Mario Odyssey. This ain't Breath of the Wild. It's Captain Toad. I treat it as such. Anyway,
this was a board on 3D World, and they made it into a game.
Right. So anyway, that's what you're seeing, folks. You're seeing a company that has acknowledged that they lost. And Sony is acknowledging we won. Now we got to start over. We won what? The 8th generation, Sony won it. Nintendo resurrected itself out of the grave because they was about dead. They resurrected. They made a pushback. They got a heartbeat.
Well, they basically kicked off the 9th generation with the Switch.
Yeah, if you want to call it that. I don't call the Switch a 9th generation system, to be honest.
It is a 9th generation system, and it should.
I don't even know if
I mean, we all know that we should be getting more from what it is, but
yeah,
generations are not based off of power level; they're based off of iterations. That was the successor, so that's the 9th generation. But Nintendo's kind of like stuck in the middle, so they're not going to be held to that same standard.
That's what I was finna point to. That's what I was going to DJK. I don't even put Nintendo in the generation. They the gap system. They are in their own place. You can't. I think the last generation system for the Nintendo was the GameCube. The Wii U wasn't a generation system. It was the GameCube reintroduced with motion controls. I mean, the Wii was. The Wii U was what the Wii should have been with another fancy controller. And the Switch is what the Wii U should have been with more fancy controllers. So, I can't look. I know that sounds crazy, but it's the truth. We got the Wii, we got the GameCube twice. We got what the Wii should have been with the Wii U. That should have been the Wii. The Wii U should have been the Wii. The power of the Wii U should have been the Wii. And the Switch is what the Wii U should have accomplished. So honestly, I don't know where Nintendo is when it comes to the generations. Yes, it is a ninth generation because it's the ninth system. I guess it's the ninth system of Nintendo or whatnot, or the ninth system. I don't know how that's calculated, but anyway, it came in the ninth generation, but I don't know. I don't know how to add Nintendo up anymore. I'm confused. I just confused myself. What's up, Cornelius? Anyway, but anyway, so I don't see nothing to be upset and complaining about with Microsoft's XO conference. I thought it was cool. It was entertaining. It wastes a few hours of watching some games. I'm a gamer. I enjoyed it for what it was. And I think the complaining was overrated and just honestly salt and hate. Like, because you, like D2K said, you really had nothing to hate on. So it ain't like they showed you anything that you haven't seen. They showing you the same stuff they've been showing you. You liked it then, so why you don't like it now? So Sony did it. Sony, like D2K said, Sony showed us all the exact same games they showed us. We saw all that stuff at they present, and we said that they had the best games out of all of the other companies. So
and Nintendo's giving you like 49 Nintendo Directs based off of Smash Bros. So
we don't even want to talk about that.
It's called congratulations. You played yourself.
So anyway, so with that being said, that's all the topics I have set up for us this evening. I hope my Nintendo doesn't make that family play no $12 million. I hope that's just to scare other companies off, and possibly they ain't really expecting that, because I don't think they can pay that at all, to be honest with you.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely
yeah,
not.
I pray that they ain't holding them to actually paying that. I think Nintendo that's doing that to scare other
they are
cats.
They don't want nobody else trying to do that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, any final thoughts, or we can get on out of here?
Oh yeah. Cornelius brought it up in the comment section. I don't think we've said nothing since it happened, but do want to say rest in peace to Mr. Stan Lee, the man who brought generations together, who brought us our childhood, pretty much. For many of us, man, the man was a great innovator. I mean, he stuff he did was he wasn't afraid to touch taboo topics, even when he had Captain America punching Hitler. Even when the story tells about putting Black Panther on the cover of their best-selling, putting a black man on the cover of their best-selling comic book. Even stories about the name where Black Panther came from and how they derived that, and even talking about, how they did X-Men and how X-Men was kind of symbolizing what was going on in the 60s, and even everything that he's doing and done now. So it's just, I just want to give my props to Stan Lee, the man, Stan Lee, the mind, the inventor, the innovator, and everything that he did for my childhood, and everything he did for Marvel in general. Just big props to you, man. And praying for his family. I know it's still, no matter he lived a long life, I know it's still an impact on them, because they're missing probably at this point maybe great grandpa, depending on how far down his family goes. But much props to him and his legacy.
Yeah, he was 93, right?
95.
95. God, that's a good long life, man. And he was moving in the movies, and so he was not just 95, but 95 and active.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, that's when I heard that news, that was sad to hear. But man, he leaves behind a legacy that probably would never be duplicated. So he lived a long, good life.
His legacy is gonna live longer than all of us. I'll tell you that, boy.
So yeah, he lived a good life, man. It ain't even really. It's you don't want to see a guy like that go, but at the same time, it ain't really sad, man. I mean, I don't think he was making comics anymore. He was just basically just living off of what he had done and being respected and honored for it. So actually it might be a good thing. That's not, I mean, not a good thing, but a thing to be appreciated and praised more so than, you saying that he had to pass, but 95 years old, that's a long, good life, man.
Yeah, I refer to his family, to them, he's still grandpa, great grandpa, no matter how old he is. So to that point. Yeah, but he definitely lived a long, enjoyable life.
And he did a lot. He did a lot to break down cultural barriers, man.
He did
through his art, like creating Black Panther and doing the type of stuff he did in the times that he did. It was very controversial and
absolutely
edgy. X-Men, ain't he responsible for the X-Men too?
Yeah, he is. Him and Jack Kirby.
Yeah, like putting the racial elements, and kind of Martin Luther King was Professor X and
inspiration,
and Malcolm X was Magneto, and kind of those two sides you saw through them two characters, and the mutants were basically colored people, and
that's why the second generation of X-Men were all diverse characters. That's where you got Storm, and you got a Nightcrawler. You got all these different people who were in African, or you got Cyclops who was Russian. You got all these different ethnicities at that point, because of the fact I messed that word up at school. But all these different people, different cultures, because he wanted to show more than just the static standard white figure in comic books. He wanted to show more. That's also about Black Panther. Him putting Black Panther, like I said, on the cover of their best-selling magazine. Like I said, you should see that special. They kind of talk about it, of their thought behind it, and they wanted to, they really wanted to show his face, so they can see this Black man on the cover in the 60s of their best-selling comic book. Yeah, it's pretty awesome about that.
Yeah, that's dope, man. So he did a lot of groundbreaking things, and like I said, man, it's more of a like Aretha Franklin. It was sad, but at the same time, man, her legacy, man, it just couldn't do nothing but be proud of a person who lived like that. It wasn't like a Bruce Lee or who life, like look at his legacy. He was only 30-something years old. Like Stan Lee got to live and got to see the fruit of his labor being praised and honored by artists behind him. Bruce Lee never got to see his effect on martial arts. He didn't get to live. His family get to see it, but he didn't get to see it. Stan Lee got to see his movies, his art and his comics become the biggest selling movies in the world. And literally shaping modern cinema is based off what he was doing 30, 40 years ago. And now that's shaping modern cinema. And it's the biggest, like this man had a good life. You couldn't ask for much better than what, and to be able to cameo in all of it, and everybody know, even though he playing a character, we know who he is. And you live, now I'm gonna miss that. You live to see what cameo he was gonna have and where he's gonna be at in his
I actually heard they recorded 4 other cameos.
Okay.
That it's already recorded, and it's actually going to show up in other movies.
Now, where was he at in Black Panther? I mean, I know he's in there. I can't remember where he was.
Wasn't he in the scene where they were when he stole the artifact? And was he in that scene or no? I don't remember.
Was he a paramedic in the scene?
No,
I can't remember.
I don't remember.
They put him in clever spots that when he show up, it always catches you off guard. He always say something crazy, and it's funny. But so I mean, it's sad. Don't get me wrong to see him go, but it's not a sadness as in hurt. Is more of a sad that's such a great person, but it's just a blessing that he got to see. He can look and see what he created and see how it was honored and received and and how he affected artists behind him, man. Like he literally got to see generations be affected by him. So he lived a good life. So it's something to just be, it's actually worthy of praise. And just, man, look, this dude did a good thing. So
we got Esteban Ruiz in the comment section. Hey, good props, man. I've never seen you in the comment section, man. What's up, bro? And he said he stole the chips.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's what he did. He stole the chips.
Okay, so, but yeah, man, it is sad, but again, he affected and basically gave a foundation for so many behind him. His legacy just gonna live on, like you said, way past what we would ever be heard. That man gonna live on for a while. So he lived a good life, and it's just, hey, he should be honored and respected and remembered. So that's how I look at it. 95 years old, he probably was ready to go. He was probably like, why haven't I left yet? So, but anyway, with that being said, I smell the food is done and my son is big and I'm not trying to be left out. So I ain't trying to miss it talking to you guys.
That's a good one.
So with that being said, Deuces. See y'all next time. Hope y'all have a great Thanksgiving. We will not be on next week, so we'll see you the week after. Everybody enjoy their holidays, spending time with their family. Peace.